Okay, so we are live on Facebook. All right, so thank you for being here, for listening to these poems. My name is Benjamin Garcia. Like I was saying, I was first at the Frost Place back in 2017, and it's been a real blessing in my life. And right as I was starting to get the book, like the poems that would make the bulk of this book, is when I started going to the Frost Place. And so it has such a special connection that I'm really glad to be able to share that now with Frost Place folks. So I wrote a book called Thrown in the Throat. It was selected by Kazim Ali for the National Poetry Series. It will be out officially next Tuesday, so in 1 week. I'm really excited about it. This is, not how anyone could have planned for releasing a book, but I am just really happy that I get to share it with so many folks. And sometimes these readings get to, I get to share it with folks across the country that normally wouldn't have been able to come to a reading. So again, I'm just really happy to have you here. I'm gonna start with the first poem in the book. There's 2 series in the book. One of them is The Language in Question. One of them is a series of odes. They both explore language and sort of what's lacking in it sometimes, or what can be damaging, and finding ways of recuperating that and using that, wielding it for yourself. The language in question. The language in question is criminal. Like a shark, it ate a license plate, and it ate the shark. Well, the fins it poached anyway. It gorges like a gorge, the river flowing like a scarf some magician just keeps pulling. It ate away the deposits of clay. Like a sinkhole, the language in question ate a chateau and the family inside. It pickpockets the stranger with gusto. It barters with bards, pays in counterfeit. Money is no object. The tongue desires, the language acquires. The language in question likes conquest, moves west because it hungers like locusts. Like the larvae of the caddisfly, this tongue makes a shell of what it pilfered. It's the apex predator in the food pyramid. It ransacked the pyramids, tours the spoils of theft to the country of origin, but only on loan. A paper wasp that makes its home from what it chewed and spat back out of your own. And it stings you if you get too close, stung. I told you the language in question is the S-shaped tongue of the anteater, the so-called worm tongue. It warms itself at the fire it made from other people's scrolls, codices, tomes. It entombs and embalms and lights bombs. The language in question thinks it's Billy the Kid. The language in question is shooting up the saloon. The language in question is shooting up meth, dope, coke. Whatever's on hand is the drug of choice. The language in question is corrupt. It's poison and salve. It's savage and sage. It's honeysuckle and bitter oleander. Only a lawyer could make sense of it and sell it to the highest bidder. Like a snake that ate a parrot whole, spits out the bright feathers without a bird to hold them together. That's what it's like when the accent doesn't even come close. The language gets twisted, the tongue gets tired. I bet it's kinky and likes to be tied, likes every bit of itself bit. This tongue bids adieu, hold in the mouth. Adios, amigos. So these poems have like a certain energy and they're kind of a mouthful, but hopefully they're fun. I have fun when I read them out loud. The next one is Eye of the Hurricane. Eye of the Hurricane. Garcia is my common name, but you can call me by my suborder, ver mi lengua, because my tongue worms into pockets. ¿Quieres ver mi lengua? If you want to keep America, America, better bolt it down or lock it. Ahí vamos. An anteater isn't afraid of a cage, won't hesitate to smite, transforms its tropical depression to a migration of wrath, machetes down its own path, contains in its craw a rainbow, un arco iris. If you choose, you can crawl away from this. If you brunt the gridlock and contraflow on I-45 North along the evacuation route, there is an out, though disaster is never complete. Without you, the domestic animal left inside the house might still survive. Though you are embarrassed by something smaller than a crushed ant, the shit stains of cockroaches pocking the spine of your English texts, the edges of your spiral notebooks. A tongue isn't worth very much, but there is enough for everyone. Remember, there is no cage you cannot leave. The joke. Why do Mexicans wear pointy boots? To get the roaches in the corners. We all had German, American, whatever kind of cockroach shitting on our books and our alarm clocks telling us to go the fuck to school, where with difficulty I learned in drills to kneel in single file along hard and polished halls where the floor confronts the wall, then cover my ears as the storm roared above. My class was promised a piece of hard candy to complete this analogy. Tire is to hubcap as hurricane is to blank. You keep those grades up. One day you're going to make so much money. So why do Mexicans wear pointy boots? I didn't. Delouse my tongue, because even then I knew nothing comes quickly but disaster. I would have to make myself fat on what others might be made sick by. But where is your family really from? What's your native tongue? I ate it. So they don't all have that really intense energy. Here is one that's a little bit, it's in little vignettes, so just little small moments. On the slight cruelty of mothers. Just look at these hands holding my small palms in hers. They have never had to work a day in their life. She spit into one, shut the other over, rubbed them together, and with her hands on my wrists, made me comb my hair in place. You want to be a handsome boy. I brought her a pink rose, but in one pull, she stripped off all the petals and made me hold out my hands, palm side down. I thought she might strike them. Instead, she licked one petal after another, placing them on my fingernails. I could do this all day when I was a girl. And when I watered her roses, she snuck up behind me, slipped a stem between her middle and ring finger like a wine glass, stroking with her thumb the near open bud. Then simply, wouldn't you like to have a dress as wonderful as a rose petal? Well, not you digging her thumbnail into the flesh, but that would be something. So this next one is going to be part of the language in question series. And again, just explores the language that we use, what's appropriate for poetry or what we consider appropriate and who decides that. And this kind of, I don't know if you may have noticed there's a lot of cussing in some of these poems. In grad school, I was told, like, don't do that. You can't have these words in there. And for a while, I listened to that. And then I stopped. The language in question. He has a mouth on him. Yes, bitch, but allow me this amendment. I've had several mouths on me, sometimes simultaneously, but let's not go there now. Suffice it to say, God gave me 2 ears and 1 mouth for reasons I've been unconvinced by. God damn, my mouth has many uses. Eat, sing, bite, kiss, but most of all, insinuate. Have you ever been sucked by the cups of an octopus's underside? It's a daily special I highly recommend to the critics who might say some words don't belong in poems. Just because you won't twirl the legs of a live octopus due to texture or fear of asphyxiation doesn't mean it won't taste good. Taste is what the octopus does on its way down with its tentacles. The language in question is like that. It's a squishy, worm-like squirm, can contort and go down the wrong pipe. If some words don't belong in poems, then I say some people can go fuck themselves. Just kidding. I don't really say that because they might actually enjoy it if they could only let themselves relax. Here's a word I never thought I'd have occasion to use in a poem. Poppers. One with and even a novice novice could let the sphincter open just long enough for this octopus to pass. Uvula, violet, vulva. So this, well, maybe I'll wait on that one. The poetry that I write isn't always directly autobiographical, but sometimes it takes components of that and mixes them together. So this is a remixing of some real life stuff. Le daría mis pulmones, which means I would give her my lungs. Toward the end, she could only lift a cup of coffee. Closer still, even that became too much for her. My mother. A sponge then, I'd dip in coffee, or pan dulce, and put that to her lips to suck. That was all the cancer let her manage. The IV was her sugar water, and she, the hummingbirds she loved to watch, busy at the red and yellow feeder. Those plastic flowers welded on were poor excuses, but they worked. Whatever worked, I guess, my mother thought, lived. On the bed in the living room, her bed, her body of sleeping birds, her dream of 1,000 green wings shimmering like shreds of aluminum that could at any moment unloose on the wind. Toward the end, the sponge and the coffee, the cancer. She couldn't smoke anymore either, of course, because even drawing in her own drag, impossible. So she had me smoke for her, 9 years old. I was her lungs. I blew the smoke right in her face, just like that, over and over. I'm looking for one. This is one of the older poems in the book, and I actually haven't read it out loud in a very long time, at least not at a reading. So that poem is just one that reminded me of this one. Again, another remixing of things in my life in a way that makes a poem. The memory jar. Sister, you will ask yourself 12 years from now, the rest of your life, why, as you slept, your little brother poured a whole jar of June beetles into the tangled nest of your hair. Remember the time you sat me pantless on an anthill, when you locked me overnight in the chicken coop, when you tricked me into picking prickly pear barehanded. Remember it. Remember, the more you pull, the tighter the grip. Each beetle cleaving 6 fishhook legs, each blessed shit-eating scarab hissing and spitting at you like the harlot you are in a book I've not yet read but will. It won't be for 3 days the last bug leg falls out. I have ruined your birthday forever. And still you are ungrateful. You can't be bothered to think of what your brother went through for you. Dark hours in the yard the night before, waiting by the one porch light, offering my body freely to the mosquitoes as I hand selected the choice beetles, only those whole and larger than a quarter. I treated each and every scarab with utmost care, and just before I would place them in the jar, brought each hissing bug an inch from my lips and whispered, "She hates you, she hates you." And so this next poem is dedicated to my aunt. And it has an epigraph that begins, Most of the time when people write about the Hope Diamond, they start with, well, it was found in India. Part of the point I always try to make to people is really the story began a lot sooner. Many diamonds don't ever get to that point because they just didn't survive all the things that had to have happened. Heroin with an E. You might do well to learn the other uses of an opium poppy. Pick one and flip it upside down. It's a doll in a bright red dress. But where is her head? Where is her head? Strip the flower petals bunched together like a clump of hair, oxygen-rich scrunchie on a sideways ponytail. Pin the flower head to your blouse. Now it's a homecoming, mom. That night you didn't come home to mom, didn't want to become a mom, so you pressed the poppy between your thighs, a cup of seeds, something called a diaphragm. You liked it, so you did it again. No one told you how good it could feel. Stay away, just don't do it, say no. You took another hit, because goddamn all of it. Plucked and plucked, he loved you and loved you not. Flower head tossed in the toilet. A blood clot with an ovum caught inside it, because fuck him. Is that unpleasant to your palate? Then pick another poppy by the stem and take a light to it on either end. It bleeds a white ash. Your mother in the kitchen, waiting and waiting, measuring her life in cigarettes and coffee spoons. She burns the slender neck of a poppy. It's the incense smoking in the hallway, praying the myrrh might pry you from whatever trap house you're calling home tonight. Dull halo of dust where the kitchen TV was, where you were once, entranced by the Technicolor Emerald City Oz. You were just a girl and couldn't help but fall, asleep before Dorothy even reached the nodding flowers. Dusk fielding the sepia window. Where are you? I never worry about your brothers, married and working, and why aren't you calling home tonight? She watches the window like a TV channel. Bad connection. Turn the dial, jiggle the wire. Snow still cuts the picture. Why aren't you calling home tonight? When all of what happened, when all of what had to have happened, happened. When I slept on the floor of a street mother called rock bottom, when I thought I couldn't fall deeper, I rolled into the gutter. I fell and fell into the sewer. I swam against the slurry. It felt like I would kick, and it's like I wasn't moving in a tango called the 12-step. God was my partner and he wouldn't lead. Had 2 left feet. I'm going to drown down here. Is that what you want? No, I still have 2 feet left, I said. God said, you got this, girl. That's when I stopped fighting. It's called accepting what you cannot change. I rode the current to the end of a sewage treatment plant. I was treated and cycled through vats of waste, pushed through grates, my hair caught in the spilling filters. Chemical and electrolysis processed. Any minute in jail is another minute alive. My mother said this, and it must be the most generous use of that term, mother. The voice of God was obnoxious. He said, Marlene, bitch, you got this. Why me? Why me, Lord? Even light can be a pollution, even sound. Sulfur makes the eternal waters of some lakes clear as death, and still life breeds there, if you dare to call that living. Methadone, Suboxone maintenance. So what if you need this? The difference between drug and medicine is why you take it. Take it every day you think your life is worthless. Remember that. Sometimes even a diamond was once alive. All right, so how are y'all doing out there? I'm losing sense of time right now, so I'm just trying to make sure that I am respecting that for you. I'm gonna read one of the language in question poems. If there is a request out there, I will take it. Otherwise, I'm just gonna pick one in the book. All right, so I'm gonna read Ode to the Peacock. So again, these start with in the language of, and they each explore different types of language, sometimes not really verbal language, but whether it's the body or codes that we've come up with, like the language of flowers in the Victorian times when you could send a flower, and if it was a yellow flower, it meant a certain thing. If you wanted to tell your, boo that you loved them, you sent a different color flower. If you wanted to decline, you can send a different kind of flower. This one is for the language of the hanky code. So this was before like Grinder and all of that. Before some of the language of calling cards. Yeah, that's fantastic. This one is about hooking up. So again, we didn't have Grinder at one point, so the way you let people know what you were into was by what color of handkerchief you wore in your back pocket, and which of your back pockets also made a difference. So, Ode to the Peacock. In the language of handkerchiefs, there's really nothing I don't want. I'm glad to be paid in gold when the devil beats his, you know what? If you think it's indecent for a body to fan open iridescent, gird your gaze, because honey, I'm throwing up my kerchief like a flare gun shot. Watch me unskirt a frosted muffin, top me with sprinkles. I'm flashing red, yellow, green, go. You're the stallion and I'm the mare. Smear my queer into the mirror. Now you are the mare and I am the stale smell in the restroom stall, and you're an all-you-can-eat buffet. Let me just say, your eyes are the most beautiful, urinal cake blue. Blue as in the past tense of blow, blow as in Coke, even though you suck it up, buttercup and butterscotch. A man named Scott wants his scotch, filthy gorgeous, or maybe that's a martini. A man named Martin, a man named who knows what. Who knows what it means to pluck roses from my chest, using just his teeth, and sometimes, yes, blood, which is thicker than water. I know something thicker. It's called incest, when a nephew makes his uncle, say pea, say cock. Katy Perry sings a song. Let me see your peacock cock. Behold my royal flesh, stamped with eyes. Don't tiptoe in your slippers, stomp on eggs, shells, balloons, lick my boots until I see myself being spit on like you're squelching the inferno. Sometimes fire, sometimes feathers. Elect a whip or bind me, blind in leather. Pink polka dot and seafoam green. If you don't already know, let me show you what it means for a boy to be, a boy to be. When hard in my harness, you'd best call me daddy, but don't call any of this dirty, not unless the person doing it wants it. Then it's smut. Wipe the rosary from my brow. Use the fabric pouring from your lips. So I think maybe I'll read a couple more. Any requests out there? Hey, Patrick.
Do you have a word?
Right, so I'll read two more. Depending on how fast I read this one, maybe just the one. This was published as a lyric essay, so it's really a poem, but I don't know, publish however you can, I guess. The Great Glass Closet. This is not a metaphor. When I say that I lived in the closet, it's because I lived in the closet. You might too, if you shared a one-bedroom apartment with 11 other people and a pet. Mother, stepfather, brother, uncle, aunt, cousin, cousin, dog. Then there's me, the surplus. You could have called our closet a walk-in closet in the sense that that a child's body could walk in. Mine did, and I called it home. It was comfortable enough if you were willing to lie. I was. I lived in a confession booth, listening to my own secrets, making my own sentences. Confession. My uncle was different in a way you could see. I was different in a way you could see. Only if you were looking. If you were looking, I could see. What I mean is that my uncle walked on crutches, so he couldn't cross the border by foot. He climbed into the trunk of a car, which is a kind of closet. I was like my uncle, and I was not like my uncle. He walked on crutches, and I didn't. Confession. During prayers, I don't close my eyes. Nobody knows this except the other people who don't close their eyes. A life in the closet is a life that's closed. So I opened what I could. Books. I was Harry Potter, the boy who lived, reading about the boy who lived. I had no owl, no hat, no wand. I couldn't cast a spell, and I couldn't spell. But I could see the low in owl. I could pull the hat out of that, and in the word wand find another hidden and. Reading X-Men, I wanted to be Storm so that I could end the famine in my family's village, looking like a badass bitch queen goddess doing it. I knew this was impossible because I couldn't, because I wasn't claustrophobic enough. I could never be Storm. I survived too many storms behind a closet door, and I could never change my name to Storm, which at its core contains an or, as in either or, as in Aurora Monroe, Storm's birth name. You must choose, pink or blue, boy or girl, left or right, right or wrong, truth or lie, truth or dare, truth. Even writing this, I thought that feminine shared an A with famine, feminine. Dare, hunger for errors, find another place to stick a man inside. Reading, I learned the difference between cloth and clothe. Also the difference between close meaning to shut, and close meaning almost there. Sometimes there's no difference between the past and present, as in to read and to have read. Sometimes there's no difference between the past and present except for the surroundings. You can call this context, or you can call this what it is. Privilege. Not living in the closet is what people like me did on TV. But I wasn't like the people on TV, so I lived in the closet. In Fun Home, when Allison and her father see a woman wearing men's clothes and sporting a man's haircut, she says, like a traveler from a foreign country who runs into someone from home, someone they've never spoken to but know by sight. I recognized her with a surge of joy. Dad recognized her too. Spoiler alert, Allison and her father were both in the closet, but they were not in the closet together. My room was a closet for my family's clothes. My clothes were a closet for my skin. My skin is a closet for my skeleton. It won't always be. It won't always be this way, but that's not the same as it gets better. Better requires context. A shell could be a spent bullet or the home of a mollusk. In order to breathe, you have to add the little snail of an E to the end of the word breath. Breathe. Is it not amazing that we are still alive? It's nothing amazing, but in the closet is where I first read The Voyages of Dr. Dolittle. Marooned on Spider Monkey Island, the only way Tommy can go home is to climb inside the pink shell of the great glass sea snail. I lived in the closet, all wall, no window, so that if I turned out the light, it made no difference if I shut my eyes. That's how dark it got. I used to pretend I was Tommy inside the enormous shell. All window, no wall. But what was there to see at the bottom of the sea? nothing except rare animals that learned under great pressure to make light from nothing but the nothing that they are. It was cold down there and lonely. My breath would fog the shell until I wiped it clear. But I climbed in when the great glass sea snail bowed its great neck to me and let me enter, hoping I had enough air, heading straight for whatever waited on the next shore, like any immigrant would. So I think I may stop it there just for the sake of time. But I'm really glad that I was able to share some of this with you. This book is out next Tuesday. If you like, please order, share. If you order from the publisher Milkweed, you can use the code THROAT and you'll actually have free shipping. You can do that all the way up until August 11th. Share with your friends and join me in next week's reading. So next Tuesday is when I do the book launch. If you go to my Facebook or Twitter, you can sign up, register. But again, thanks. And
would anyone like